how the situation with that, the blogger who's feeding from... Yeah, Sasha from Russia, or no?
Sasha meets Russia.
Meets Russia, okay. So how is that evolving? Because I saw after she confronted you on X, social media, people, I see that like a lot of media started to do their own investigation that how much Russia has have this type of people bribed, talking, you know, for Russia, from their name. So how the story is evolving?
It's all come out now who these people are, how much money they've been paid. It's about $2,000 a month. These are Russian propagandists from lots of different countries. Sasha Meets Russia is the American cheerful Russian version. There's an Italian version, there's an American version, and they all pretend to put out art and culture and music. And it turns out they're all paid by a company called Limitless, founded by a woman called Maria, who works directly with Kremlin propaganda, and they're all just paid. But the most important tale to the story is you've got to be extremely careful with what you're seeing on your newsfeed. And the next time you're scrolling through your feed and you see someone casually talking about how great Russian culture is, how delicious Russian food is, or talking about how they should travel to Russia and how great everything is in a really innocent and colorful and beautiful video, you should think twice. Now that these people have been exposed for literally taking money directly from the Kremlin, it's obvious why. I mean, to rephrase it, the next time you see this, and you decide to follow these people, you'll notice that the comments talking about how great and innocent Russian food is turn to comments about how Crimea has always been Russia, about how the Donbass has always been Russia, about how Bucha was fake. And that's the actual intention for all of these people, including directly Sasha Meets Russia. It's to show a friendly face, to get a following, to show how lovely and innocent Russian culture is. And at the deep side of it, and the actual point of it, is to put out Russian propaganda to convince you that Ukraine isn't worth supporting, or that none of Russians' war crimes were legitimate. And it's basically it shows that Russia isn't fighting its war just on the battlefield in this country. They're fighting its war on TikTok, on YouTube, on Twitter, and on Instagram, and they're getting very, very good at it. And that's why it's so important to spot these people. The next time you see something like this on your feed, just think twice. Are these people legitimate? Are they associated with it? There's a massive propaganda machine. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Limitless is just one of probably 1,000 different Russian companies that are connected to this. It's really hard to combat. You know, Ukraine can't. Ukraine doesn't need to combat it because Ukraine doesn't need to lie and put out propaganda. Propaganda is lies, right? Ukraine doesn't need to put out propaganda to show how great Ukraine is. It's just a great country.
You know, actually, that's right. I was just thinking about that because Russia's culture and values and history are so shitty, so they have to hire people around the world and pay them to lie on camera, or even if they're ideologically honestly saying that, to lie to people that everything is great in Russia. But despite that fact, I just saw I don't know the nationality of the guy, but he's definitely from abroad, and he was tasting Ukrainian food on camera. And I'm pretty sure he's not paid by anyone.
No.
He just genuinely like borscht, vareniki, and not a pickled salmon, and everything that we have. So it's so lovely, and it's his honesty.
Yeah. But again, you don't need to lie if Ukraine doesn't need to lie to put out its propaganda. Most of the stuff as well that people like Sasha Meets Russia put out it's not even Russian culture anyway. It's stolen Crimean dress, literally in her profile picture. It's dances that were stolen by Russia.
And this her freaking kokoshnik, I hate it.
Yeah, it's stolen Russian culture. So it's talking about how great Russian culture is, and none of it is even Russian, because Russia doesn't export beautiful culture, it exports terrorism and cheap Russian gas and propaganda. But yeah, so this is ridiculous, honestly, but it's going to be happening so much more. X is becoming unusable at this point. I mean, my reach is down like 90%, and most of the comments are people like her or Scott Ritter. There was basically a gala that took place in Moscow about 10 days ago, and all of these people were there. Scott Ritter, Jackson Hinkle, she was there, Putin was speaking, and it was organized by Russia Today. And it was basically thanking them all for putting out their bullshit across the world. And they should be thanked by Putin because they did a great job, and they're being pretty successful. Social media can stop this from happening as well.
I thought
right?
Russian propaganda could pay much more than $2,000 per month.
If you are Russian, you likely in Russia will do a.
In Russia, yes. But living in Miami or wherever this Sasha is living.
Yeah, I mean, influencers are pretty easily paid. In 2024, we had the Tenet media scandal as well, right? This was a massive operation, $10 million, paid to give influencers all across Canada and North America hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, including Tim Pool, to put out Russian talking points. When there was a terror attack carried out in Moscow, they blamed Ukraine. They were emailed to say this. This was exposed by a court and revealed at the White House press briefing just before Trump was elected. And a few of those people were arrested. But there's loads of this. I mean, this is like a massive operation. It concludes the next time you hear someone talking about how great Russia is, usually there's money behind it. Tate, the talesman, Andrew Tate's brother, put out tweets yesterday saying Poland should have great relationships with Russia. They're just a bit annoyed because of the old days and the hang-ups of the USSR. Well, the USSR doesn't exist anymore, so let's all get on with Russia. Probably paid to say that. I mean, this is everywhere, and it's elevated to the top of our news feeds as well. That's why information is so important, because it's the online battlefield.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that money behind that approach of people. And I'm thinking about the big politicians like Viktor Orban or Robert Fico. And for me, I was thinking about them that if behind Robert Fico, I think there are money behind him and Lukoil company that are delivering oil to his country. But Viktor Orban seems like ideologist. Seems like he's definitely love Putin and the culture and everything. And that's also a problem. Not only money, but I think also this sincere ideology of everything that Kremlin is trying to push as a truth to the world.
Yeah, if you're pro-Russia outside of Russia, you're either paid by Russia or you're an idiot and you believe Russian propaganda. And he's probably the second. So it's
probably both.
Probably both. Yeah, because if you've been watching what Russia's been doing since 2022 and you still support that, then there's something deeply wrong with you, or you're making loads of money. It's pretty obvious.
You know, I was never asking you the question that someday we will definitely win the war, and Russia's war in Ukraine will stop. How do you see we should build our future with Russians next to us? How South Korea made with North Korea? Shall we wait for this kind of redemption from Russians? Because I've heard that it could be a part of this healing process. Because I'm not believing that, but probably you do. So how do you see that our future post-war reality between Ukraine and Russia?
I can't speak for Ukrainians, but I mean, everyone that I've spoken to in government, people in military, have basically hammered home the point that there needs to be tribunals after this war is over. And they're keeping lists of every single person that abducted a Ukrainian child, of every single person that committed atrocities in Bucha, of every single person, every tank commander, every missile operator, everyone who had a house stolen, who stole a house in Crimea, who sold a house in the Donbass. Every single person is on a list, and those lists are being taken every single day by the SBU and GUR. And that's because Ukrainians plan for the future, which is massive tribunals. And I don't think this country are going to let Russia rest for generations after this war. They're going to go after and hunt down every single person that was associated with this war, as they should, so they have their day in court. And Ukraine, I don't think Ukraine gave Russia a second chance after the collapse of the Soviet Union, after it was treated terribly. Ukraine fell victim to Russian influence over 20 years, right? With its presidents, with its government, with its politicians. Russia poured billions of dollars, billions of rubles into Kyiv, buying up the luxury properties, buying up everything luxury in Odessa, making it seem like speaking Russian was the luxury language, making it seem like they were high society and glamorizing their own country. And that wasn't Ukrainians liking Russia, that was Russia influencing in a really underhanded way this country. I don't think Ukrainians will deal with that ever again. The best thing that could happen would be a giant wall between this country and Russia that is a beautiful, like as Trump would describe it, a Trump-style wall.
A Trump-style wall.
Yeah.
This is the only way when I agree with Trump, where we need that wall here, not between the United States and Mexico. No,
Yes.
we need it between Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah, well, the North Korea-South Korea example is good as well. There's a very tense demilitarized zone that nobody can cross. That's how you deal with a hostile neighbor. And Russia will always be hostile. Russia's been a hostile nation for half a millennia, right? They're not going to change suddenly after this war.
Until the empire will collapse.
Until the empire will collapse, it will always continue. Although the Russian royal family collapsed during World War I, continued to be the same way. The Soviet Union was set up, it behaved in the same way. Putin's been set up, it behaves in the same way. It seems like as empires rise and fall in Russia, despite their collapse, it carries on the same way. So maybe it will always be like that. And the only way to deal with it is just to pretend that it doesn't exist, build a beautiful wall. All the other countries bordering that nation should build a nice wall, just be isolated like a pariah state. That's what North Korea is. We don't do business with North Korea. The rest of the world sees it as a laughingstock, as a joke that should be ignored. And that's what Russia should be.
Yeah. That's the future for Russia.
It's beautiful.